All right, good morning, everybody. This is the Fantasy Sports Boss. Wanted to discuss a couple of things today, but primarily going to go over the state of the tight end position now that NFL free agency is over, and just my initial early thoughts when it comes to 2024 drafts. Also, on top of that, I know some people subscribed for the draft guides, the two editions. The first edition, just putting the finishing touches on that. Of course, had to wait for free agency to really, put a bow on that. I should be sending out the online PDF version because the draft guides are going to be in PDF versions. I'm going to send that first one out probably in the next week or so, hopefully. And then the second version will come, a few weeks after the draft while we digest the draft because the draft is going to, not only trades, but also will impact depth charts and all the quarterback movement and everything else. So I'm going to be sending that out a few weeks after the draft. So I know, thank you for those who purchased already. And if you haven't done so already, you could use the link on the homepage of the channel to it's a PayPal link to get your subscription as well. Now, as far as the tight end position is concerned, we're looking at a different setup this year. All right. For me personally, now of course, anybody who's a subscriber to the channel knows that last year, last summer, for me, it was all about the idea of drafting Travis Kelce #1 overall, or even somewhere in the middle of the first round, just because he gave you such a unbelievable advantage at a historically thin position. And it was almost absurd, in 2020, 2022, that Kelsey in PPR league scored more than 100 points more than the number two scorer to position, which was TJ Hawkinson, and more than 5 points per game than George Kittle, who was #2 in fantasy points per game in PPR. It's just absurd. So like the unbelievable amount of targets and touchdowns that Kelsey gave you at the thinnest position of the game, and with really him being the only obvious target, that is why myself and many others in the industry toyed with the idea of him being not only #1, but a mid first round pick. Now, I was never totally in the #1 overall camp, but mid first round, yeah, I was there. Now, I never actually was in position to make that decision in both of my leagues, but it was valid. But this year, just like with the quarterback position, if you haven't seen the quarterback primer that I put up the other day, make sure you check it out. The tight end position all of a sudden is in flux with a lot of, or has been infused with a slew of young high end receivers. And last year, it was just insane. Sam Laporta um, not only becomes the #1 guy after only one season in the NFL, but like he was just unfair at times last year. And then you have guys like Dalton Kincaid, another rookie who caught over 70 passes for the Buffalo Bills, and now on a Buffalo Bills team without Stephon Diggs that has vacated targets all over the place. You have David Njoku finally making good on his potential that he's had for a number of years. You have Jake Ferguson becoming a monster red zone target for Dak Prescott and the Dallas offense. So there is a lot. Plus, you have the two-headed monster, rookie monster attack in Green Bay. So there's a lot to discuss there. Plus, Trey McBride. Sorry, I just have to get to my notes here and my on my tight ends here. But Trey McBride, who won me a fantasy football championship last year, for me is the #2 guy. So anybody that saw what Trey McBride did last year, it was just insane how good he was. And I didn't even mention Evan Engram, who just like Dalton Kincaid in Buffalo, has a bunch of targets that are now up for grabs in Jacksonville now that Calvin Ridley has left. So and again, and I keep going, but now you have one of the best rookie pass receivers coming out of the draft since Kyle Pitts, who we also didn't even mention, in Brock Bowers from Georgia, who's going to be, who could go to the Jets towards, the early portion of the draft. So there are a lot of guys. And it's really to the point now where I think we have 12 impactful guys for every team in a standard league, PPR league, whatever kind of format you have, that you do not have to chase the tight end position anymore. So let's just take a look at it. Now, number one for me is Sam Laporta. I know he had the injury, but he played through it last year towards the end of the year. 86 passes, 889 yards, 10 touchdowns, just ridiculous numbers. I mean, it's just crazy how good he was coming from tight end U of Iowa there. They really know how to churn out the tight ends in Iowa. He's the obvious number one. But here's the thing. As exciting as Sam Laporta was last year, he's not the number one target on his own offense, like Travis Kelce was in Kansas City. That is Amon-Ra St. Brown. So there's no reason for you to chase Sam Laporta, in my opinion, as the number one guy. Number two for me is Trey McBride. Now, I have a soft spot for him because he won me a league last year. He was one of the great in-season pickups last season. And he was the only tight end in fantasy last year with 4 games of 20-plus PPR points. And considering he really wasn't a mainstay until like week 6 when Zach Ertz went down injured for the season, 4 20-plus PPR games, not even Laporta did that. So that's how good he was. He's going to catch over 90 passes if he manages to stay healthy throughout the course of the season. I know Marvin Harrison is probably going to be the guy that the Cardinals are going to draft, but Sam Laporta, Trey McBride, those are your 1, 2. 3, I have Travis Kelce right now is 3, and these are very early rankings. I'm not going to chase Travis Kelce at all this year. Like if he falls into the 3rd round, then maybe. But his snap percentage was a little bit above 70% last year, which is his lowest mark since he was a rookie. And Andy Reid said publicly he wants to keep the snap share down with Travis Kelce because of his age. It's becoming more run heavy, this team. I think I'm out on Travis Kelce going forward. Number 4 is Mark Andrews. So Mark Andrews, we know how good he is. Isaiah Likely, no movement there in terms of getting Likely, trading him, or even trading Andrews. I thought that was a possibility. They're going to hold on to Likely, who's great insurance. And let me say one thing about Isaiah Likely. This is the only tight end scenario where you could use a handcuff, where you should draft a handcuff. Like usually the handcuff position is the running back, right? Tight end, it's almost unheard of. But Isaiah Likely is so good, and we saw how good he was down the stretch filling in for Andrews last year, that he is the only tight end handcuff I could ever remember in all my years of playing fantasy football that it's worth. You should draft him if you also have Mark Andrews. Number 5 is Evan Engram. Listen, I mean, 114 catches, 963 yards. 4 touchdowns. The touchdowns were light. He's never been a big touchdown guy. That's just not, there seems to be an issue there. Like he's got like the Julio Jones effect around the red zone. But the targets are insane. No more Calvin Ridley. There's going to be a lot of receptions up for grab. Christian Kirk doesn't, he had an injury last year, so we got to worry about his durability. I think Evan Engram, and I have him as tight end 5. If I can get him as tight end 5, I'm jumping right in on Evan Engram at tight end 5, like 100%. If he's there and I can get him in that tight end 4 or 5 range, I'm taking him. Number 6, I have George Kittle. I never owned George Kittle. I respect his ability, the yards after the catch, better than any tight end in football, but he always battles injuries. The touchdowns came down last year, just like I said it would. The touchdown rate in 2022 was unsustainable. We saw that it came down last year. There's just too many mouths to feed in that offense, and they still like to run the ball a lot. So I'm out on George Kittle again next year. Kyle Pitts. All right, I'm back. I've opened the door again on Kyle Pitts just because obviously Kirk Cousins. We've seen Kirk Cousins turn Jordan Reed into a star. We've seen him fully unlock TJ Hawkinson. Like he loves to throw to his tight ends. So Kyle Pitts, I'm in on Kyle Pitts at tight end 7. So failing to get Evan Engram at 5, I'm in on Kyle Pitts as my tight end 7. I think he's going to do some monster things with Kirk Cousins. My tight end 8 is David Njoku. I know he was good last year. Runs a little too hot and cold for me. I don't like Deshaun Watson coming back in, so I'm not going to proactively chase David Njoku. Right now, I have TJ Hawkinson tight end 9. This is conducive on him coming back shortly after the season starts. We've seen guys make rapid recoveries from devastating knee injuries. Javonte Williams comes to mind. But we don't know who the quarterback's going to be. It's not going to be Sam Darnold. That's just a placeholder for whoever they're going to draft. I'm not chasing TJ Hawkinson, who has been a past favorite of mine, just because coming back from the injury in the quarterback situations. Now, tight end 10, alarm bells going off. Dalton Kincaid. I actually think he's going to move up this list because Stephon Diggs is gone. He caught 73 passes as a rookie. Just a tremendous rookie season that was overshadowed by Sam Laporta. I'm in on him, failing to get Evan Engram, failing to get Kyle Pitts. So, He's my tight end 9 right now. I think I'm going to be moving him up the list there. Um, Excuse me, Kincaid is my tight end 10. So Jake Ferguson is next. Yeah, he's a little too touchdown dependent for me. The Cowboys love to throw the ball around the red zone. So, Ferguson is if you really wait to draft your tight end, then I think Ferguson is a terrific guy that you could take late. Following him is Dallas Goedert. I never own Goddard. He's always hurt. Um, he's going to be 60 catches, 600 yards, couple of scores. It doesn't move the needle enough for me. And then I have Brock Bowers. So I think Brock Bowers is going to hit the ground running literally. If he ends up on the Jets with Aaron Rodgers, look out. We saw Sam Laporta as a rookie last year. Rookie tight ends now contribute big time. Kyle Pitts, went over 1,000 yards. People forget that as a rookie. So that, here we have now, I just gave you a list of 12 guys that can fill out an entire, an entire 12 standard or PPR league with startable options, really good ones too. Ferguson was 11. Yeah, so I actually gave you 13. All right, so Bowers was 13. Cole Kmet is 14, and all he did last year was catch 73 passes for 719 yards. So, and he's getting Russell Wilson. Now, Wilson hasn't historically thrown to tight ends. That is something to keep in mind. That's why I have him ranked so low. But as tight end 14, if you're in a deep league, fine. Tight end 15, Dalton Schultz. There's a lot of mouths to feed suddenly there with Stephon Diggs coming to Houston. Pat Freiermuth is tight end 16. Isaiah Likely, tight end 17. So the tight end position is as deep as it's ever been. Like I said, it's going to be Trey McBride. I love him. I think he's going to be a little too pricey for me, so I don't think I'm going to be getting a reunion with Trey McBride. I'm going to start with Evan Engram as tight end 5. I'm going to go to Kyle Pitts at tight end 7. And then I'm going to go fully in on Dalton Kincaid at that point. So those are the 3 guys I'm going to probably end up with the most. Let me know what guys you're targeting the most. How are you going to handle this position? Post in the comments. And again, guys, keep picking up your draft guide. It's going to be coming out shortly.